Hi, hello. My name is Tanvi Bajpai, and I'll be talking about MIC, an affordance-aware framework for platform moderation. So when we think about moderating online communities, the online communities we usually think about are subreddits or Facebook groups. In reality, an online community can be anything as small as the handful of users that are subscribed to a university mailing list to as large as platforms in their entirety. Regardless of the size or scope of an online community, the moderation strategies and challenges these communities will use and face will be highly informed by the features of the platforms that they are situated on. We refer to the aspects of platforms that impact moderation as that platform's moderation ecosystem. Understanding and analyzing a platform's moderation ecosystem is important for all stakeholders of moderation. For example, community founders or moderators that are interested in using or already use Discord might want to know what affordances or features the platform has that could affect how they moderate or run their community. So these are some examples. For moderation researchers, understanding individual platforms' ecosystems can help answer broader questions about moderation at large. For instance, by studying moderation in voice channels on Discord, we could better understand how real-time ephemeral audio is to be moderated, or what challenges arise in this modality that don't arise in text-based platforms like Reddit. Clearly, there's a great deal of value in studying the moderation ecosystems of individual platforms. However, over the last decade, we've seen a drastic increase in the rate at which platforms are being created and updated. As a result, the moderation ecosystems of platforms are constantly changing, often rendering moderation research on these platforms outdated, sometimes even before that research can get published. Similarly, we can no longer rely on one or two representative platforms to draw conclusions about moderation at large. By that, I mean, maybe 5 years ago, Discord might have been considered an adequate representative for understanding real-time ephemeral social audio moderation. However, in just the last 2 years, there have been several new live audio social platforms that have been developed, as well as audio feature additions to several other existing platforms. Although these new platforms, these new features all have to do with live social audio, they each offer diverse and distinct affordances that could impact how moderation is carried out on each platform and the moderation challenges that users could face on each platform. In light of all this, we believe that the moderation research community needs to have a unifying language with which to discuss moderation that highlights platforms' moderation-related affordances. Furthermore, the way in which we understand these moderation ecosystems should be easily updatable and should allow us to see similarities and differences between platforms that affect moderation clearly. To address these needs, we have developed the MIC framework for understanding moderation on platforms. The MIC framework builds upon Grimmelmann's taxonomy of moderation, which provides a well-established vocabulary for moderation on online communities that is not platform-specific. In the MIC framework, we describe 12 platform-specific affordances that are known to play a role in moderation, and we know this is the case because they pop up in breadth of moderation research. These affordances fall into 3 categories, which are named for the components of an online community as per Grimmelmann's taxonomy. So Grimmelmann states that an online community is made up of members, the infrastructure that the members use, and the content that they share. So MIC allows us to represent the moderation ecosystems of platforms using these 12 affordances. So here we have what we call a MIC diagram for Discord. This diagram displays all 12 affordances clearly. Our framework also has a notion of inter-affordance relationships, since each of these affordances don't exist in a vacuum, but in an ecosystem. So these relationships are reflected in the arrows. For example, we have a bidirectional arrow between the user roles on Discord and the access and permissions of Discord, because those two affordances are typically tied together. Certain user roles have certain access and permission settings associated with them. To demonstrate how the MIC framework can be used in practice, we conduct 2 case studies. In these case studies, we look at 3 popular audio-based social platforms. So one is Spotify, Discord, and Clubhouse. In our first case study, we used Mike to analyze the moderation ecosystem of Clubhouse, which was an app that launched in April 2020 and one that became very popular because of the pandemic. Here we have a Mike diagram that shows what the platform affordances and relationships were as of June of 2021. So that's a little over a year of Clubhouse being around. Ironically, June of 2021 is when we first submitted this paper. Unsurprisingly, Clubhouse went through several updates over the following months, updates that spanned the time between when our paper was submitted, then revised, and then eventually accepted. So here we have a Mike diagram that reflects Clubhouse's moderation ecosystem as of January of 2022, so 6 months after the previous diagram. As you can see, several affordances were changed as a result of these updates. And because we had observed certain relationships between Clubhouse's affordances, we were able to propagate updates across these relationships. So for instance, we had observed a relationship between the modalities on Clubhouse and their inter-platform dependencies. So when Clubhouse updated the modalities that it offered, we reevaluated what Clubhouse's inter-platform dependencies were, since a change to modalities would prompt a change to inter-platform dependencies. In our second case study, we used Mike to compare and contrast 3 platforms to look for similarities and differences across their affordances and inter-affordance relationships. So here are the Mike diagrams for Discord and Spotify. By making these Mike-guided comparisons and identifying similarities and differences between platforms, we can uncover where platforms can adapt and learn from each other, and adapt and learn from more established, better studied platforms. So for instance, Spotify has been around since 2006. It's been around for a long time. And while it's not incredibly similar to platforms such as Clubhouse and Discord, there's still aspects of Spotify that Clubhouse could borrow from, since they both have non-ephemeral audio. Another example is that Discord and Clubhouse are pretty similar in that there are users that are moderators, but Discord offers its users a suite of moderation tools, as well as access to an API with which they can build their own tools for moderation. Clubhouse doesn't offer anything like this. And so it might be beneficial for Clubhouse to look into offering tools such as the ones found on Discord, since those tools are so successful. In summary, the Mike framework we've developed allows moderation stakeholders to construct simple yet explicit representations of complex platform moderation ecosystem. It also allows us to update these representations to reflect how platform changes will impact the moderation ecosystem at large. And finally, we can use Mike to compare and contrast moderation ecosystems of multiple platforms and identify potential moderation solutions or challenges that these platforms might face based on their similarities and differences to other well-studied platforms. You can find more details about the Mike framework, our case studies, and further implications in our paper. Thank you so much for watching.